この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Clearly, we know that I'm the better of the two of us. That's not true at all.
Oh, not this nonsense again!
Gil!
What an annoyance. I have a message from our friendly mongrel of the future. But I'm stopping you two before either of you decides it your best idea to threaten humanity. Again. And of course, I'm suspicious of you the most by default. Useless goddess.
That's not fair! I'm far and above more important to humanity than this sullen virgin over here.
Right. And what precise good have you done for it?
I exist, shallow hypocrite. You claim how it's unfair that he calls you useless, when all you do is float around in your heaven as if the praise of these people is owed to you by birthright, says the wallowing misfit whom nobody worships.
That is enough!
But I cannot possibly let her leave with the high ground on this one. I must admonish her in kind.
Then hear out my message first, you petty stewardess, because it involves both of you.
What? The Master of Chaldea? They wish to address me? More than likely. The Master is concerned with me having to deal with such a bland potato of a woman such as yourself for too much longer. I wouldn't be surprised that my displays of power and authority are clearly shining through to them and decided that my ties to you are no longer necessary.
Power and authority? From you?
I am the goddess of fertility, after all. Even you wouldn't have been born without my existence to give light to your conception. And what does this brooding psychopath have to show? Death to the masses? A spooky dungeon? Face it, no one wants to be around an ill-favored recluse like her, whose hobbies include jailing souls for her own personal amusement.
Then, prove it.
Excuse you?
Oh, I need no pardon. But what about the Master? And would it be even more to your interest should I inform you that they are listening intimately to this conversation at this very moment?
You set me up. You are always like this. Not around the Master. I would certainly blow up a mountain for the sake of their appraisal, only if it gave goodwill toward your image. Fine then. If you were simply going to bastardize every word I say, then shall we not lay down the facts for the Master to see who is more appropriate to be by his side?
Perhaps you should do just that, useless goddess. As from my experience, your temperament would likely only get our friendly mongrel's allies killed.
Is that so? You should know that I can make quite the dazzling support as I see fit. As I am the goddess of victory, it only makes sense that all of the gods' weapons should belong to me. I favor our heavenly boat, Mana, most above all, as its parameters suit my mood the best. It does appear similar to a bow, yes? Consider myself an archer, then. Wielding independent action suits me best anyway. It is unfortunate that I'm forced to uphold a human vessel. My skills and abilities, originally quite advantageous, I assure you, have to be scaled down to accommodate it. My manifestation of beauty would have been such a potent detriment to our enemies, as the mere sight of my true form would bring the world's peoples to their knees and curse them with an overwhelming feeling of inferiority. Alas, I suppose having the charisma to boost the morale of the Master's allies will have to act indicative of my beauty instead, as I do more than simply raise everyone's average strength. When any of us should perform a critical strike, it should deal an even greater blow than we could possibly imagine. Well, I could certainly imagine it myself, which is exactly why you were an archer, correct? Taking in all of the surrounding efforts from your allies to create an advantage for yourself. The Master calls it generating critical stars. And as I would have imagined from you, living under rocks your entire existence has left you unaware of modern colloquialisms.
And as I would have imagined from you, a useless goddess only takes, but does not generate anything new in return. Remember, you needed my King's Return skill to adhere to the full advantage your strength increase provides. Given the few number of times you actually struck our enemies with attacks which created any kind of advantage for us, blasting away at them one at a time is effortless. Your sister here is a pathetic burrower, and I have little doubt she could do just the same.
Right! And why even even raise the Master's allies' abilities to perform critical maneuvers when you are simply going to take all the glory for yourself? Because I am generous, that's why! Perhaps I need the occasion to recharge. And maybe I do need assistance generating these critical stars and decide to wait my turn. But I can do it myself if I really try. It's just a little difficult sometimes. Jeez! Besides, it helps with the limitations of my mana burst. It is impressive, as it should be from someone as compelling as I. But I must wait a turn to prepare the jewels that this mundane human body relies on for her magecraft. However, do recall if you can, as a team we share approximately 15 different attacks, 5 between each of us, which we can perform over 3 turns before it is time for our formation to reset. If I wait that turn for the critical stars generated by the Master's allies, should they pace their attack pattern properly, I should be able to create one truly devastating series of strikes during the following opportunity. If need be, I can force an opportunity just as well by activating the power of my crown through another skill I have, granting me access to my noble phantasm earlier than expected. The only downside to it is, of course, related to my limited power in this vessel. Sometimes, the desire pour into my crown becomes mixed up, and I will either become glowing with invincibility, or grow in such strength as to break through the invincibility of others. Or, sometimes it is both at once. My power truly must be great if I am faced with such consistent instability. And just when I was about to admit your cleverness, you are so embarrassing.
So, is that all you do?
I do possess a noble phantasm that is capable of creating glass craters once I've overcharged the mana. What more should I have? Surely we can save the world by simply obliterating the instigators. Actually, if the Master would simply prefer I point my ship in the direction of infidels and cretins alike, I would gladly send them a message from heaven they would never forget. Pew-pew!
No sense of diplomacy? Or tact? As expected of a useless goddess.
Alas, it pains me to admit this, but my sister's straightforward nature is not completely unreasonable this time. We are summoned as servants, expected to fight, correct? You may have that proclaimed raw strength you are so proud of at your disposal, Inanna, but I possess an entire domain with a great many tools at my disposal. I won't shy away from the fact that I hold fondness for my spear cages. I can form them into stabbing weapons, but I can also generate bolts of lightning from them and extract the souls of our enemies with them. I suppose this would liken me to a lancer, surely. Although it is a gloomy place, the underworld is where my true power lies. I can summon my domain and all of its deathly inhabitants at will, even with a human vessel akin to my sister's. My spear cages are also lighter than mana, so I can utilize my limited mana efficiently, as showcased through my various skills. For example, my mana burst has no drawbacks. And with my natural territory creation skill, combined with the protection I can grant my allies from the netherworld, how do you say I may, spam my noble phantasm, Shirley? Wow, I may have underestimated you. You truly have been observing the Master after all. Not too closely, just, enough, Shirley. Just enough to understand them. Is that why you're always watching them so intently? I just wish to protect them! Unlike you, who just wants to take advantage of the Master, I am indebted to them for, being my...
Enough of this chatter! Return to making your case, worm!
Of course, but my gifts do not cease once I have granted my protection from the underworld. Upon unleashing my own noble phantasm, the summoning of the underworld into the present grants us a bonus in strength over our enemies for a fairly long period of time, as long as I can keep it active. And as long as my benefits of the underworld can be kept active and unleashed against a flurry of enemies, this will create additional strength for us over time. I have no doubt that I could accomplish this for any team of allies the Master would have me on. Are you forgetting about your own protection? Benefits for the team and party are important to you, but if you cannot block the enemy's maneuvers, then you might as well already be a corpse to them. Well, sister, that is what I have you for. Excuse you? Your crown, surely. If you can recall from that close-minded tunnel vision of yours, I did steal it from you at least once. You should take better care of your belongings, you know. Hand it over. I cannot. Besides, you were summoned with yours intact.
A perfect segue into my reminder that the Master did have a message for you two bickering hens. It was a welcome, They intended to bring both of you on board from the very beginning.
Why did you have us speak about ourselves at such exhaustive length?
I feared they might be too lenient or endeared to either of you. So I thought to myself, why tell them of your nuances when I can simply show them? Oh, your tears! Your tears, they are so amusing!